like I said in the live feed this morning, I am going to shoot the video. We're going to talk about this AD15 from Cold Steel. I figured I'd shoot the intro here because I still had everything set up from the live feed I did. So I don't know if all of you guys know this. I do a live feed pretty much every morning between 8:30 and 9-ish. I like to start at like between 8 and 9. Sometimes it's an hour long, sometimes it's 30 minutes long, and I just basically BS with you guys. So if that's something you guys want to see, just keep your eyes open because I do a live feed at that time in the morning. But that's neither here nor there. We're going to talk about this. So this just a little background on it. This is a Demco design. It uses what he calls a scorpion lock, which is kind of a revisioning of the back lock. Or lock back, however you want to look at it. So it is a S35 VN blade, really thick blade stock. It's a pretty substantial blade, really thick behind the edge. But we're going to talk about all that stuff when we get the camera set up out there. I'm just doing the intro right now. So like I said, you guys know Cold Steel is kind of a love-hate thing. I love a lot of their knives, but I hate the execution. So we'll get into that, but we'll take a good hard look at this. I got to go out and clean off a spot out there. But like I said, AD15, that's what we're talking about today. And if you like the music, I appreciate the fact that if you guys like the music, because I made the music that's in the intros for my videos. I'm going to make a couple other basic intros that are going to have kind of music that I did because I'm tired of having to fight and render music and find stuff that is not copyrighted. So I figure it's just easy if I just take some time in the evening, like one day a week, and I just figure out like a 36-second block of music that I put together that sounds cool. So yeah, but like I said, guys, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna get everything cleaned up out there to start for my day of work. We'll look at a couple things that I did at the end, but we're gonna take a good close look at the AD15 by Cold Steel. So guys, like I said, we're back out at the workbench. So I got tied up with some stuff. It is actually later in the morning than I wanted to start. It's coming up on 10:30. But I had some sharpening to finish and some cleanup to do. So, like I said, we're going to take a good close look at this. Hopefully the light's going to work with me. I've got you guys all set up. So let's take a good look at this AD15 by Cold Steel. All right, guys, I had to move some stuff around. Yesterday was a really busy day of sharpening, but here we go. Here is the Cold Steel AD15. Now, like I said, this is the production version of a Demco custom that he made, and I do know that Nick Shabazz, I think Nick liked this a lot, actually. Nick Shabazz seemed to like this knife a lot, and basically was saying, why would you get a custom one when they're making this one? I can kind of tell you why here in a second. But so this is a Demco revisioning of the back lock like you'd have on most of your Enduro models, where you push down, or it's a lot like revisioning his triad lock. But what you don't have is you don't have a button to push. So it disengages on its own when you open, and then you lift up on it to close it. Now, it's a clever idea. I do like it, but one of the things that I see that I have a problem with it, if you've got hands like mine, big hands, and you get this thing comfortably, what you're doing is to disengage the knife, you have to, basically what happens is that pivots up against spring tension and then drops in and locks in, which that's clever. But the problem I have is when I get a knife in hand, it makes it much more difficult for me because by the time I get it comfortable to hold on to hit the thumb stud, I'm putting pressure down, and it really, you guys can see I'm putting a lot of pressure. I have to change my hand positioning to an awkward, uncomfortable position to just to open the lock, to deploy the knife. So disengaging the lock, really, really simple. But like I said, so what you have here, fairly thick blade stock. The thumb studs, while they look aggressive, are not. They're actually fairly comfortable. S35 VN blade, like I said, blade stock is, let's take a look. I actually am prepared today. So we'll look at it in freedom units first, and then some of my European. So you're looking at, let's see here, what's that look like? Let's see. Half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so those are 16ths. So you're looking at, I just want to make sure my measurements, you're looking right at about just shy of 3/16, so maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 32nds-ish thickness. So let's look at it in millimeters. I'm starting to like millimeters. Millimeters are straightforward. It is right at 4. I'd say 1, 2, 3, 4.5, maybe 4.5 millimeters wide. Whew, that was difficult. I don't measure. I don't math's good. The liners are steel. Pocket clip, I believe, is steel. I don't have a magnet. I can't find my magnet that I normally do this with. I'm pretty sure that's a steel pocket clip. This is aluminum. Steel liners with G10 on top, the OD green G10 with a diamond tread pattern on it. Now, it is not overly aggressive, but I haven't pocketed it to see how badly this tears up pockets. Like I said, when you get it deployed, you've got a fairly robust blade. The only concern I have is how thick it is behind the edge. Even with that wide bevel, that is still a really thick edge. So you're looking at just at 3. Where are we at? 3 3/4, just shy of 3 3/4. Fairly deep jimping here. It's actually really good jimping. It's a lot like, it's just a little bit bigger than what I put on the Hornets. And full flat grind. It's not a hollow. So it's a flat ground, semi-flat ground, like a saber grind, I guess you would call it. But it is a flat grind. It's not a saber grind. Saber grind comes up all the way and follows that same line. This is just a flat grind. There is no sharpening notch, but they didn't go too far back here, so it only ramps a little bit. I have not sharpened this. I imagine you would have some problems. So that's, I mean, all in all, fairly well constructed, nice looking knife. But now we're going to look at, as you guys know, I take issue with some of the stuff that Cold Steel does. Let's tip this up just a little bit. So now we've talked about, yeah, it's a good knife. It's nice, substantial. It's not too heavy. It actually has some weight forward, the tip forward weight that I like. It's not too heavy. Oh, but before we talk about the bad stuff, so like I'm saying right now, we'll take a look at the weight, the overall weight of the knife, which kind of is one of those ones that's on my edge of bad, working that direction. So first things that we're going to look at is, I'm not hypercritical about stuff, but they're using some lightweight materials, aluminum and G10. They're lighter weight, but they've went so. That's 6.5 ounces. Let's look at it in grams. It's 187 grams. So in comparison, I brought this out for comparison, about the same price, about the same size. And it's as close as I'm going to get, really. They're really similar in blade size, really similar in handle size. So let's compare it. Let's do a comparison. So like we said, that is, do it in ounces. That is 6.5 ounces. My Mordax is 5.5 ounces. That's a full titanium knife with 0 weight reduction. There's no skeletonizing. That's all titanium and steel construction. And it's an ounce lighter than the ADV. Similarly sized, similar blade size. I mean, they are very, very similar in their size. The ADV is a little bit longer, maybe a little bit wider handle, but it's very heavy. So there's my first problem with it. It's heavy. Let's set this over here. Second problem I have is, I don't know if you guys can hear it. There's blade play. I'm not touching any, so let's try that with me squeezing. Same little tick, 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 tick blade play. It wiggles this way. Pivot's nice and tight, and it's 100% just the way that sits down in that groove. It allows some forward to back blade. Now, is that a big deal? No, all knives eventually are going to develop blade play. We know that. It's just the lock mechanism. I just don't like the fact that that's how it comes from the factory. The little tick, 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 tick blade play. There's enough play in there that you can rattle that back and forth. Other thing, really thick knife. They've got a broad blade, but they did not use a very, they could have brought this back further, not done this swedge, brought this back further, dropped it down like I did on, like I've done on a couple knives that I've made, and bring that down further. Use maybe a smaller thumb stud and thin that edge out. It is very, you can see it. It is thick enough that you can see the grind. As I was doing the edit on this, and I realized that I forgot one thing that I wanted to mention about that AD15. Let's go out here and we'll actually grab it. While I'm doing this, we'll step in. So I was talking about the thumb studs being comfortable, but what I noticed was they are tall enough that if you were trying to do any significant reprofiling to sharpen that knife down to a thinner edge, you're gonna have to take the thumb studs off because they're gonna hit. Look how thick they are. They stand up so proud that they're gonna hit your stones. I've had several knives I've had to do that with. So apologize, it's one of the things that I wanted to say that I forgot. Frankie. From above, see your bevel grind? Look at how thick that is. That's a very, very thick knife. Comparison, this is a fairly thick knife too. I don't think there's that much different than thickness. Look how much thinner that is. Guys, had to do a little jump cut. I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, and the telemarketers just have been horrible the last couple weeks. So at any rate, this is a lot thicker blade, or it's about the same thickness blade, but it transitions a little bit better to a little bit. It's not a lot, but it's just, you know, in comparison, there's things they could have done. And then you see where that thick spot is on that grind. The transition on this is well forward, the origin of the edge. You don't have that here. If you look, there's some thick material there. It comes right up to it. You're gonna have a hard time, the average person sharpener is gonna have a hard time getting up without wrecking their stones because they're gonna hit that really sharp ricasso. I would have brought this forward just a little bit, but like with a lot of cold steel knives, I would have concerns that there might be some issue with the actual lockup, because if you look, that stop pin goes and it sits right in there. That's its stop point, and that's the confusion I had with that ADV. Cold steels, a lot of times, this stop pin here, that's what stops it down here, as opposed to using like an external stop or something like that. That's the only thing that keeps you from getting into the backspacer, which is actually your lock mechanism. So, you know, just a little forward thinking, they could have done something a little bit differently. And then if you look, this is asymmetrical. You can already see it's asymmetrical here, so your entire grind for the length of this blade is asymmetrical, and it has some inconsistencies that you can feel in it. There's a thick spot right there. I think if you look at the reflection, you can see where that thick spot, yeah, you can see where that thick spot kind of sits, the way the light reflects a little differently. It might just be a play of the light. Let's see if I can do it this way. I mean, this knife is actually ground and finished a lot better than other ones. And then my final concern, my final bad thing about this knife, like not just busting on, this pocket clip is, if it was set for right-hand carry, it would be atrocious. I've had this in hand, left hand. Oh my goodness, it stands up so high, it's so broad, and this comes up high. It's just one great big hot spot. I do like the fact that this is completely reversible without having to come with two pocket clips. I have several cold steel knives that I've owned that come with two separate pocket clips, one for right hand, one left hand, because they curve a different way depending on the knife, which it's clever, but the fact is, if you decide you want to do it, guaranteed 90% of people have lost the spare pocket clip. So this is a good choice. The other thing I'm concerned about is, if you look here, this is all enclosed. There is no way to clean out the lock mechanism down in here, really, and lubricate it without disassembling the knife. And I don't know if you guys know, disassembling a cold steel knife can be a pain. And I have not checked. I couldn't find any information. I believe that this runs on bearings, but it could be washers. So it does, if you get used to the way you have to hold it weird, which is not a real secure way to hold it, it's easy to open and then it just drops shut. So we're gonna talk about my final problem with this knife. So it's a big knife, it's bulky, it's got a lot of hot spots. It's made with some materials that are relatively, could be cheaper than some of the other stuff, definitely cheaper than titanium. But this knife on Cold Steel's website retails for $269. The cheapest I found it was Blade HQ. So Blade HQ has these for $202, but that's with the discount, and I think it could be a limited time. Limited time thing. But they have it for $202. So that's the cheapest I found it. I tried to look on Knife Center and they didn't have them in stock. It said out of stock, coming soon, or restocking soon, something like that. So, you know, it's just, I think that's too much. Like, I have had some cold steel knives that were in that price range that were great knives, but in retrospect, I don't think I would pay that again. For those knives, because it's just, let's bring this in so it's not sitting in the sun. That'll help just a little bit. It's definitely a price point thing that I don't see. I really don't see Cold Steel knives. They've got some nice designs. Don't get me wrong. I like to caveat that. I don't want Cold Steel or people that love Cold Steel to think I'm busting them. They have some great designs. I've had more Cold Steel knives than any other knife at this point. Well, if you count Ferrum Forge designs, like the mass drop stuff, I'd say Ferrum Forge I've owned more of now. But I've had a lot of Cold Steel knives. I started buying Cold Steel knives when I was in high school. They were a new thing, and they were the sharpest, strongest, and you saw videos and stuff, and I was like, they're great knives. They make some of the best fixed blades out there. If you want a fixed blade that you know is just gonna romp and tear and it's gonna put up with the rigors of what you want, then hands down, Cold Steel has probably got what you want. The problems I have is inconsistent quality control and some stuff like that. Is this a bad knife? Absolutely not. It's actually a really nice knife, and it's comfortable in hand if the pocket clips in the right configuration and things like that. Does it feel beefy and robust? Yeah. Does it feel like it's gonna break? No. My concern is it's a new mechanism that I really don't think gets you anywhere. I would much rather have seen Demco's triad lock on this. I love the triad lock. This is a novel idea. It's cool. He's trying to be innovative. He's a knife maker. That's what he tries to do. He's got to stay, you have to stay, how do I want to put this? You have to stay current. And you know, you have to be putting out things that get people's attention. So is he doing the right thing? Yeah, absolutely. But I think a version of this with the triad lock would be a much better knife. I think the deployment would be easier. You wouldn't have to hold on to it differently. You could hold on to it just the way you want. Like, I want to hold it this way so that it doesn't feel awkward and doesn't feel like it's going to come out of my hand. You see how I'm not even really holding that. Pluses and minuses, all in all, is it a good knife? Yeah. Would I pay $269 for it? No. First of all, because you shouldn't be buying anything from Cold Steel's website. They don't want to do it on their website. That's why they raise the price. They have outside vendors that do that. And so that saves them that admin cost. Would I buy it for $202? No, I would not. I would much rather have a locking mechanism that I'm more comfortable with, that I know that it's tried and true. Is that a bad lock? No. If Demco did it, I guarantee. I mean, he made the triad lock. I guarantee there's like very, very little to no chance of failure on that knife. I just don't find it comfortable. So there we go, guys. That's the AD15. The Scorpion lock. Is it cool? Yeah, it's really cool. It's just, I see some things that detract from it. And you can almost do, like, if you get a hold of it and pinch it, you can almost do a axis lock style deployment? Yeah, you could. Now, I will tell you, this knife is sharp. It came sharp. And so one of the things I will tell you guys is, even when their edges are inconsistent and uneven, their knives come sharp. Cold Steel Factory Edge has some of the best sharpness on their factory edges. But a lot of times there's inconsistencies in that edge grind. There's some wavering. Sometimes they're off. And as you guys know, I have a thing where I try to this asymmetrical grind on this. I don't like that because that leads it, because it's sitting at an angle as you're trying to push it through straight as opposed to the edge. So your blade bevel comes up like this, then your edge bevel's like this. So it's going to fight and draw, and the friction's just gonna roll that edge off. So that's my concern with that. But there we go, AD15, guys. I love you guys. I'm sorry there haven't been some actual videos coming up. I have another video I'm gonna shoot today. I'm waiting on some customer input before I start working on some stuff. I have got a knife that is an S30V that has chipping. And I got a good picture of some of the chips. And so we'll talk about that when I do that video. Guys, if you like the videos, give them a thumbs up. If you don't like them, give them a thumbs down. But please try to tell me why and what you didn't like about it without being abusive or being abusive to other subscribers. Up in this corner, there will be a subscription link. There will be a Patreon link here. And over in this area, there'll be like a video that YouTube thinks you like and the last video I uploaded. So with that being said, guys, I would appreciate if you guys can at least try to share my daughter's GoFundMe to support her ice skating. That link will be down in the comments and not comments, the description at the bottom. I will make sure I get that thrown in. So you guys take it easy. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video.